In Google news this past week, actually, Google has announced or has shared their plastic free guide or brand guide for the new Pixel phone. Hi, everyone. Now, the take on this in particular is if you're in the paper business, this is a dream. Google and companies like Google, the Delta Airlines, and some of these others that are making big announcements that they're going away from plastic completely or whatever. Sounds great, but again, I guess if you're selling a $1,200 to a $1,500 phone, you can go to these great lengths to come up with alternative blends of paper slurry. I mean, gone are anything having to do with laminated plastic. Gone is stretch wrap. They go on into great lengths to say they've eliminated or they're eliminating stretch wrap. Even plastic or tape has now been replaced with paper, molded fiber, chipboard cartons, which is nothing new. They've all been using that, Apple included. They're doing a lot of custom molding with molded fiber, a lot of blended types of paper slurry and instead of using a plastic or a laminated film, they're using what they call a coating. But again, if you're selling a $1,200 phone and you can go to these lengths, that's fine. But my problem in particular is, look, where do they think does anybody really think about the consequence to our environment when it comes to using all this paper? This isn't a commercial necessarily about plastic per se, but how much energy, what natural resources, water, trees, all the energy to create and make for a plastic free phone packaging. And I just think it's a very misguided. Knock yourself out, Google. I mean, you can buy and sell all of us, but knock yourself out. I think this was clearly an attempt at gaining those the tree huggers, if you will, and there's plenty of them out there. The anti-plastic people, which is a PR machine that's out there, and it really drives me crazy because if you looked at data, if you looked at the truth, if you looked at a life cycle analysis where you compare paper and the ramifications of paper when it comes to carbon footprint, when it comes to the energy it takes to make, when you compare paper and plastic, um, paper is not better. Paper is not. There's just this sentiment out there that paper is good, plastic is bad. Now, the other thing that I have is, or a problem with this, is that these products themselves are not going to be easily recycled. Okay, they're just not. I don't know of anybody that's recycling these boards and boxes and inner trays or molded components of this part or these coatings, as Google is saying, because they're not. And frankly, what they're going to do is they're going to throw it away just like regular trash. It's going to go to a landfill. And once it gets to a landfill, I mean, this is where it's such a hot potato. Nobody wants to come out and say this is BS and nonsense, but it's BS and nonsense. They're chasing they're jumping on the bandwagon like Delta Airlines did before with we're eliminating plastic cups because God forbid we now we need a paper cup that's laminated with plastic, which is really not recyclable. So I digress. But Google has this new brand guidelines. Good for Google. Good PR to throw out there for those that are so deathly afraid of plastic. It's comical. But the other thing that really is important too for people to realize when it comes to landfills and stuff going to the landfill, this has gone back forever, and I don't care whether you are sending a box or a plastic bag or a grocery bag or a refrigerator, whatever it is that's going to a landfill, nothing is going to break down. You can sit there and say that you can leave this packaging out with Google in the Google store. You can leave this packaging out and it'll biodegrade and break down. Awesome. Knock yourself out. Who's doing that? Where is that? Do you know of any places that's actually is allowing this stuff to sit out in the open to break down? No. The reason being is usually it's with other trash. Usually it's with other products, and those products in trash smell. So when anything gets to a landfill, this is why our landfills are literally overwhelmed. John Q. Public in the US, they just throw everything in the trash. And if I, and I posted something yesterday, and I think it kind of brings us all together. Companies like Google, Kellogg's, so Procter and Gamble, if you want to do something, jumping on board of the anti-plastic as if that's the scourge of the world is really kind of foolish. Jumping on something that actually could benefit our environment where we actually are recycling, how about we start to really pressure our government and state and federal to come up with with real rules and guidelines for recycling, real rules of what is recyclable, where does it go, how do we recycle it, what type of receptacle does it need to go in, and on and on and on. This is a glaring issue right now. So again, Google is jumping right on the bandwagon, just like all the other ones, because it's the path of least resistance and builds the customers, because the machine behind the anti-plastic is very, very strong. And that's a plastic problem, if you ask me. And we just haven't fought back. But on the other hand, I just think it's misguided. I just think that it's, again, it's the same old, same old. If we really want to do something versus taking sides and creating these cat fights, if that's it's just like a Me Too. We're just going to jump on board. We're going to do that. But if you really want to make change, you really want to do something different, then do something that actually benefits the entire population. And clearly, in our world, recycling will work. Recycling does work. We just have not gone over the hump and got or provided consistent rules for anybody. So that's my take on the Google News with their new plastic-free guide on their Pixel phone. Good for Google. Another opportunity wasted from a big brand to do anything other than just jump on the bandwagon. So, and that's what we see more and more. They're so adamant about trying to look good. Just like, well, anyhow, I digress. But anyhow, thanks. That's my take on the Google News on Pixel.